The second victim of the Berlin Wall was a gay man who was slandered by the East German state for his orientation and compared to a hero of the Third Reich.
That was all the buzzwords.
On 24 August 1961, Günter Litfin became the first person shot by the East German state for the crime of attempting to leave. His body was pulled out of the Humboldt harbor later that same day. East Germany would make many excuses, and you'll hear reasons even today why they were forced into building the wall, but what came next has no excuse other than cruelty and hatred. Litfin was painted as a criminal who had been running from the East German state. In fact, he was directly compared to Horst Wessel. And what's more, this person who had broken East German law by attempting to leave was hiding something much more sinister, something the West was showing their degeneracy by glorifying. He was gay. Let me quote directly from Neues Deutschland, the official newspaper of the Socialist Unity Party. "One must expect they will erect a monument to Puppet in West Berlin. Puppet was the unambiguous nickname of a homosexual who was well known in the relevant West Berlin circles. August 13th separated him from his lovers, and his trade remained hopeless in the capital of the German Democratic Republic. The fact that people in West Berlin think differently about it and that they intended to greet both the homosexual and the thug with flowers does not change this, since everyone knows that West Berlin and the views of its ruling personalities differ from everything that is otherwise considered the standard of the usual and normal in terms of value." East Germany was effectively excusing themselves for their actions by use of their victims' orientation. How progressive! Now, the reason that you look at stories like this is neatly summed up in this East German history textbook where it was talking about the United States. How did the American state's reality differ from its ideals? Because the attitudes expressed in East Germany in the 1960s continued into the 1980s. The homosexual identity was explicitly excluded from memorial services at concentration camps. And despite legalization, your identity could still be used by the state as a means of blackmail at worst, or leave you invisible to the state at best. Let me back up a bit for my YouTube video. In 1968, East Germany decriminalized homosexuality 1 full year before West Germany, although they kept a higher age of consent than they did for heterosexual relationships. And backing up even more, even before decriminalization, East Germany rarely enforced this law in comparison to the West, roughly 4 times less per capita. And this is often touted as showcasing the progressive nature of East Germany, even before decriminalization. But as covered, East Germany was not above using homosexual identity as a cudgel. The East German state emphasized an image of the socialist family and worker. Despite legalization, falling outside of that image left you invisible to the state. While parts of your life were now legal, acceptance didn't necessarily follow. The Stasi still monitored and blackmailed people simply for their identity. You were excluded from membership in official state organizations such as the FDJ, and the state denied your identity as even being important. The approach of the East German state is easily summed up as the East German state didn't need a liberation scene because you weren't made great simply by proclaiming who you were. It was only in 1985 that East Germany then took the next step of attempting to normalize gay men and lesbians into accepted socialist life. One of the reasons? The Stasi advised that by preventing political misuse of homosexuals, they could crack down on dissident groups. I am sure I don't need to explain to Americans that your rights on paper mean jack shit if society doesn't agree that you should have them. Because any state that builds a wall around people and then uses its victim's identity as a shield for its actions should have every single one of its ideals questioned. Now, if your reaction to all this was, well, the West was worse because 1, no shit, 2, better doesn't necessarily mean good. Oh, a fun addendum on the Litfin story. Litfin's family would be told by the Stasi that his death was an accident after his brother had been arrested and interrogated, and they would only find out the actual circumstance via Western radio broadcasting into East Berlin. They wouldn't even get the full story until unification in the 1990s.